So things are trending up. But, Zach, you know where things are not trending in the right direction?
Where's that?
It's up north.
Yeah, old Boston.
Beantown, baby. Have you seen what's been happening?
Yeah. There's been, we want to talk about dysfunction. Red Sox, a team with a lot of hope this year. Started off hot, started off great, but falling back to earth, and it's been kind of tough recently, and it feels like they're in a similar situation as the Orioles were kind of like a year ago, a year and a half ago, where it's like, hey, they're kind of just tossing a lot of guys out there, young guys, hoping that they can play different positions, and maybe it's not all working out.
It's not. And it started from the beginning where everyone was very high on the Sox. Why? They were aggressivo this offseason. And, Sam, if you didn't take Spanish in high school, I'll tell you that's aggressive.
I took Russian.
In English, it's aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
So they were very aggressive in the offseason. They went and got Garrett Crochet, and then they extended him. He's looked great. They got Walker Buehler on a deal because they wanted to improve their pitching staff. And then you go out and get Alex Bregman, who until he went down was one of the best signings this offseason. He's been playing extremely well.
Yeah.
But in the process, you piss off the player that has been your franchise guy in Rafael Devers. You tell him you're not playing third anymore. And then you have an injury to Tristan Casas, a very young, talented player on your team. Now you want Rafi to play first, and he says, nah, I ain't doing that. Bregman gets hurt. There's just so many parts of this. And, Zach, where do we start? Do we start with Alex Cora's comments, or do we start with Ken Rosenthal first?
Let's start with Ken Rosenthal, and then we can get for the outside perspective. Then we can maybe get Cora talking.
Okay, so Ken Rosenthal was on Fair Territory, part of the Foul Territory Network, talking about the dysfunction with the Red Sox and how their pieces just aren't being put together correctly. So let me play that clip for you guys right now.
Conversation the other day, Ken, with Pedro Martinez, obviously Red Sox lore, and he said that Christian Campbell is so good, they're trying to make him bad. What is your perspective of them having so many different players out of position? I mean, they obviously like him. They gave him a big deal, but they're having him take ground balls at first base. He may play there this weekend. You also have him in the outfield. What's your take on that situation?
I like that comment from Pedro. And generally, when you talk about prospects, what do you hear from teams about positions? Well, we want to let him settle in. We want to get him settled at that position, and then, he can make some versatile moves later. The Red Sox aren't doing that. Marcelo Meyer comes up. He was playing shortstop in the minors. Then he played a little bit of second base, and he's at third. Mm-hmm. Campbell, as you mentioned, Alana, is going to play first this weekend. They seem to have all of these pieces in the jigsaw puzzle in the wrong spots. And Trevor Story, one of their big contracts, 8th lowest OPS in the majors. So there are all these things going on with them, and none of them really are good. Christian Campbell is a player who, yes, has struggled at second base, so they're thinking, why not play him at first? We don't want Devers in the field. That seems to be the message here. We don't want Rafael Devers wearing a glove. So, okay, that's fine, but you're compromising perhaps some of your young players by putting them in uncomfortable spots, or at least unfamiliar spots.
That is certainly true. And you can say that the performance from Rafael Devers, as far as his bat, that hasn't been affected or impacted. He's done his thing. But as far as the other players trying to fit into this roster, there's been some rough parts. Tension would be a word that we'd throw around here. A lot of tension.
I think the phrase, right pieces, wrong place is a really great way of putting it. And I like Ken's quote on that. You have the guys. You have guys who can deal damage and really play the game of baseball. But, you're shaking the foundation on them, and suddenly you're making things, more contentious than they need to be. And so you're seeing problems from the bottom up instead of the top down in that regard.
Yeah, and also guys that are trying to figure it out at the big league level, Christian Campbell being one of them. People forget this is him getting his feet wet at the big league level, and now he's being asked to play a different position. But also you can just sense when you lose games, what does losing cause, Zach?
Issues.
A lot of issues, right? When you keep losing, people get angry. Yeah. People aren't happy. Are you happy when you lose?
I'm not.
Yeah, and are you having a bad day again? It's like when Gavin Sheets, before you found out Gavin Sheets had a home run. You okay?
Yeah, it's just one of those tough ones.
You have done a lot of losing, which we will
Yeah, we're
talk
gonna get
about
to
in a
it.
minute there.
It's
But we'll
tough.
turn that frown upside down. But see what I mean? It can impact you.
Yeah.
Right? Well, you don't think it's impacting the rest of the organization. You ain't watching closely. It's pretty evident. And actually, Alex Cora about this whole situation was asked about, well, is Rafael Devers, what's the situation there? And it wasn't really asked about playing third necessarily, asking about first base. But Alex Cora made it clear where Rafi will no longer be playing. So I'm going to play that for you guys, and we're going to react on the other side.
Homestand, you were talking about Devers, and you said he still views himself as a position everyday player. Is there no ground balls at third, like start the process? Is it just not going to take him?
Not at third base, no. And we keep talking about the other position, but as of now, it's not happening.
Ongoing conversations?
We always have conversations, yeah.
So there's more conversations about him possibly
Not
at first
more.
and third?
Not more. No. Third base, he's not going to play third base.
But I'm sorry, I just want to make sure that I'm not misunderstanding. So there have been conversations about first base with him?
We're still talking about the situation, man. Like, this is where we at. There's a chance Christian's going to play first base this weekend in Atlanta. Yeah. There's conversations. I don't have to go specifics, but the third base part of it is a no.
You had said about a week ago that Christian was a 2.5 or 3 on the scale of 10. Has he ramped that up, and where is
he did. He feels we talked a few days ago, and he's like, I feel confident. So there's a chance he'll play one in Atlanta.
So that to me is probably one of my favorite clips of the season so far. And shout out Nesson right there where the clip came from. And that's Alex Cora, big league skipper for the Boston Red Sox. Zach.
Yeah.
He views himself as an everyday position player. And Alex Cora is just like, yeah, but he's not a third baseman.
It
feels
you can feel the tension.
I was gonna say that's such in the air. The way he was conducting himself, he seemed really upset when he was taking that interview. At least until they got into the Christian Campbell bit, but that was a tense interview.
It's we talked about it all off season when they first got Bregman and it was made a thing. And, Devers was like, no, I'm a third baseman. Like, I don't DH. And then they're like, no, he's going to DH. And then you kind of felt like for a few days it was a big story. And then everyone's like, you know what? This is going to be a non-story. This is going to be something that a few weeks into the season, everything's going to play out. It's going to be all sunshine and rainbows. Winning fixes everything. And for a minute it did. And then things have gone poorly, and now we get very tense interviews. We have rookies being forced to play places that they aren't comfortable. And really, it's hard to play. I mean, that's just so weird for him to be like, no, he's not playing third. Like, that's the position they roll out. So it's very clear that there is some tension in that Red Sox locker room. I don't think this is something, we talk all the time. There's things that the analytics can't show. There's things that don't show up on the stat sheet. And your locker room is one of the big things. And right now, I think you can very clearly say that they do not have a great locker room going at the moment. It is probably a lot of tense conversations going on in there. And I'm not feeling like it's probably the loosest, most laid back vibe at the moment in there.
Well, it also doesn't help when you've lost 5 straight games that dropped you under 500. So after they beat the Orioles in the walk-off by Rafael Devers in extra innings, they have not won a baseball game since. They had a brutal loss, specifically in Milwaukee in extras, where they threw the ball away and whammy, that's that. But now they're 4 games under 500, sitting in 4th place in the American League East. They have some young pieces with Marcelo Mayer and Roman Anthony and those guys that are ready to make more impacts, but they don't have the construction of what they want to be. And then, by the way, the guy you're paying the most is definitely the most ticked off. But he can compartmentalize things, but you can't say that about the rest of the group. And you know what, for the Red Sox here, it's not getting much easier because tomorrow night they're going to Atlanta. And they're facing a Braves team that's starting to pick up some momentum, and they're getting healthier here. So everyone out there, it's not just the Orioles. There's other teams that are having some troubles here so far as we move into June, just a few days away. And guys, as always, appreciate you. And if you're new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. Do this every Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right here on YouTube and X.